Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. Man, I don't know if I want to call this high definition or the tale of two Devins or Big Cap Convention number 5. Man, it's so crazy, man, how, you know, we move a lot of goalposts, man, depending on boxers and fighters. And because in one breath we say, oh man, it's too many belts, man, they playing with these belts, man. And then, you know, when it come to Earl, it's like, man, they don't want to see this and they don't want to see that. And then, you know, somebody like Devin who goes and fight one person twice to get them all, gets all of the credit. And everybody outside of that is, oh no, you need to fight the undisputed. It's like, man, we gotta pick and choose a side as to whether or not belts matter. And I say that belts do matter, depending on who the person that holds the belts are and how they were able to get them. Because the belts, there is way more of a price tag in value, in moral value, in achievement, in hard work, and in the craft and the skill displayed that it would take to actually get any one of them 3 belts. The WBC, the WBA, or the IBF off of an Errol Spence. Any of the 4 belts, to include the Ring magazine that Jermell Charlo has. The value on those belts are off the chain. The value of the belts that Stephen Fulton has, because of him going to go achieve and get those belts. The value, depending on who goes and collects each one of the belts and who has them when you fight them, is way higher than you fighting one person and getting them off. Especially when you go back and you defend them against that same person. You know, I believe that, you know, that's a talking point. That's just a conversation to be had. You know, I think that people use it a lot of time to discredit, you know, other people in the division, especially when it, you know, comes down to the lightweight division. Because, you know, Tank and the worth and the value that he brings to the table, the level of skill gets undermined and underestimated because he never really truly had a desire, you know, to have those belts. I think that he was maneuvered in a position to be able to go get secondary belts, to actually win championships at certain time based on the TMT strategy and model. And the TNT strategy and model got Tank to where he is the cash cow in a lower weight division. I mean, you know, he's getting ready to actually take over as far as the sport, depending on, you know, the level of revenue that he's able to get. Because don't get it twisted, man. I know in my culture, I'll just say in my culture, and a lot of times in boxing culture today, everything is about capitalism. And we can actually make it, we can make it an elephant in the room, or we can actually address this big pink ass elephant in the room with lime green polka dots. We need to address it, because the Jake Pauls of the world, everything that Floyd was able to do, the money that Canelo was able to make. Because if you think about it, Canelo was able to tell Demetrius Andrade that he's a horrible fighter, man, and you want payday. We heard this mimic with Shakur telling the Grenade, Edwin De Los Santos, he just want a payday when he was one of the ones asking for the smoke. So when it boils down to capitalism, we pick and choose when we want to stamp our capitalism flag or when we want to use it to points that support our argument, when we don't want fighters to fight certain fights, right? But then we take it away when it comes down to the belt, depending on who has the belt. A la people discount that Ugas had the belt when Spence got it, but they give Ugas no credit for fighting Pacquiao. But they say that Spence ducked Pacquiao when he came out with an eye injury. We say that Bud has been defending his WBO belt. We give him credit for fighting all of his mandatories when they're fighting for that belt that he got off of Jeff Horn, which, not my word, but a lot of people deem as the lowest credible champion when he actually won that belt. There were other smoke, bigger fights, better names that he could have got that belt off. But according to him and his camp, they took the easy route. I would deem that Devin and them took the easy route and actually going to go get this belt. Because I'm not sure how Lomachenko is viewed as #1 pound for pound. I guess he went and hit the time machine. Now his age is being compared to Bud, and now we are discrediting Loma because of age and size when it comes to Devin, saying that when Devin actually says that Loma fought everybody that was actually smaller than him, when Devin has fought everybody who he has had the height, reach, and youth advantage over when it comes to Lomachenko. But Tio was nothing when he beat Lomachenko. He beat Lomachenko 2 years ago. So let's not act like we're doing something that has never been done, some Herculean task. Salido beat Lomachenko 2 years ago. We put all this credit and esteem on people losing their O. But we give no value to somebody like Regis Prograis, who actually lost his O to a credible champion in Josh Taylor. And what some people would say was a controversial decision. In that loss, some people would argue that. When I watched it, I say that, Taylor won the fight, but Regis is a hard hat, lunch pail bringing type champion, blue collar guy who took the stairs and got his way back up to the top. Now he has the belt. Nothing at 140 intrigues Devin Haney, according to his own words. So we pick and choose when we give credibility to these belts, because I'm not sure how him having the WBC belt right now, when him climbing back up the ranks, him fighting Zepeda, somebody who Devin would have willingly fought had he moved to 140 ASAP, because that's all they kept talking about, Jose Zepeda. I mean, fighting him if he was going to go to 140, that was the other option. But now that Regis has a belt at 140, that doesn't matter. Now that Sabrius Matias has a belt at 140, that doesn't matter. But Devin having those belts that he got off Kambosos, since he has all of them off of Kambosos, a fight with Kambosos and a defense against Kambosos, now that's all that's supposed to matter.
Yeah, we got to see. I don't know. I mean, so many big fights at 135. It's hard for me to go to 140. I can't really say anything at 140. Really, intrigues me really.
And now money means nothing. In any fight that you fight, which could be a legacy fight in the fact that it's going to generate one of the highest grossing pay-per-view fights with the Tank and Ryan Garcia, none of that matters. All of that's discounted down to just cannon fodder in a way to just shear the sheep in boxing fans because of money. It's like we got to put these goalposts down, man. We got to put the goalposts down. We got to start recognizing people for the talent that they have and their abilities that they have. And we got to be responsible when we're judging somebody according to when the belts matter and when money matters. We kind of got to come in agreement, man. We got to, especially as content creators, as hardcore boxing fans, and especially when we're actually speaking to and about casual boxing fans, as to how to look at these things. Because it's irresponsible to keep pushing out all these narratives just to prove your point. Because a couple years ago, when Devin Haney said that Loma was too old and too small, that was Devin Haney. And everybody laughed, and he garnered all the clout for it. Only for him to come around as late as yesterday to say that Lomachenko isn't old now.
Is Crawford older than older than Loma? Is he old? No, they're not saying that he's old. So don't say Loma's old. Now all of a sudden he's old now that he's fighting me. But just a year ago he wasn't old. Now all of a sudden he got old overnight. No, it don't work like that.
Like those were your words. In your own words, you said you've been studying him when he was in his prime. Southpaw TV pointed that out poignantly. A lot of points. Fanon, he's been pointing out points that he saw, you know, from watching the video and all the inconsistencies in the double talk that comes from the Devin Haney camp. You know, I just think that, man, we need to call it what it is, man. Loma is a shell of himself. Not saying that he can't regroup. Not saying that he can't come up with a game plan that's actually going to beat Devin. A lot of people don't believe that Loma can. But I just think that we got to look at this fight and look at the circumstances surrounding this fight, and we got to be responsible. Mainly, we got to be responsible with holding Bill Haney's feet to the fire as it relates to this fight. When we look at the level of respect or lack thereof when it comes to him talking about Tank, him talking about Tank's coach and Coach Calvin, him talking to Teo and how he carried himself, him talking to Ryan, when Teo already beat Loma. Last time I checked, when it came time for you to fight Lomachenko, you were next in line to fight him, but you were much like all the mandatories that Errol Spence would have to face right now, or Terrence Crawford would have to face right now, where what you represented was another title defense on behalf of Lomachenko. And you didn't bring anything to the table but a title defense as an up-and-coming contender. That's all you really offered. Last time I checked, Teofimo Lopez went and knocked out Comey to get a belt. Last time I checked, the WBC had elevated, because it's a double standard when it comes to elevation, because Canelo Alvarez was elevated with the franchise, meaning that superseded everything. Lomachenko was elevated, meaning that in the WBC, that superseded everything that was going on in the WBC. And that's how you got a belt. So when he fought Teo, he unified the other belts when Teo actually beat him. Last time I checked, it wasn't Tank Davis who denied you an opportunity where he had a belt and he denied you a title defense. It was Lomachenko. Last time I checked, it was Lomachenko that denied you an opportunity because he wanted to go unify. And last time I checked, per your own words, you said unifications trump mandatories all day, every day. Those were your words last time I checked.
Like, you know, like that, unify fights and shit like that, trump mandatories any day of the week. So, like, I mean, we all knew that. We did.
So, I'm not sure why the disrespect is towards Tank. Not sure why the disrespect is towards Teo. Not sure why Lomachenko don't get any respect last time I checked. When Tank is supposed to be your brother, man, you know what I'm saying, in every sense of the word, you know, in the sport, and y'all coming up and, you know, knowing how hard it is and where you come from in your background, there's no respect there. Ryan, who you split 3-3 in the amateurs, you know, we got footage of you running up on Teo. No respect there when it comes to your Americans, but now Lomachenko gets all this respect and all this praise. You are a victim of the very thing you're accusing the people who make the pound-for-pound list up. That's why we said it was cannon fodder for Devin Haney to make the pound-for-pound list, because they had Loma on the list after he lost twice. They were still trying to have Canelo as #1 on the list after he lost to Bivol. The conversation right after he lost to Bivol was that he should still be #1. So 2 years ago, you brought Loma's stock down by tweeting that he was too old and too small. You did that 2 years ago. Now you're mad at who? Writers at ESPN, people who work for ESPN, for saying that you won't get the credit for actually beating Lomachenko? You will get the credit for beating Lomachenko. Why? Because you'll get a dub in the win column. But let's not act like this is the quote-unquote Super Bowl of the lightweight division. And now Shakur has to work his way up and do all these things. Granted, yes, he did lose his belt on the scales. And he could have became the mandatory, or he could have pushed for to move up and fight for the belts that he had. Yes, he could have. He made a mistake in doing that, and so he has to deal with that. But let's not act like talent-wise that had he went that way, he would have been eligible. He has not had a fight at 35 yet, but he is a very top contender when it comes down to 35, and it's a fight that everybody wants, but that gets no level of attention. It's like Devin and Bill won't even say Shakur's name, but they're so disrespectful to everybody else in the division. But there's no disrespect when it comes to Loma. They're so polite, they're so kind, all these glowing praises. He talk about Papa Lomachenko like, he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, where's that energy for your fellow Americans? These are the double standards and the goalposts that we have that we like to move. We need to put them down. Let's be real about these things that Devin is saying and doing, and they don't line up to the action. The only reason why he's fighting Lomachenko, and I say this all the time, is because when it comes to Lomachenko, he sees food. So we can't build him up now so that you can get all the praise and everything when you actually get the victory. What's crazy is if this man is able to beat Devin Haney on May 20th. What's crazy is if even at that price point of $60, if that pay-per-view flops. And you already see that when it comes to rehydration clauses and, catch weights, they making that such a big conversation because of the Tank and Ryan conversation. But Devin Haney's already saying he's not willing to do that. Why? Because his rehydration is the only advantage that he pretty much has over everybody that he fights. Let's be honest. The dude is boot size. He's bigger than Terrence Crawford. He looked bigger. Like, I have pictures. There's pictures out there with him standing next to Canelo where he's bigger than Canelo. Side by side. That's his only advantage. He's been exercising this advantage. I also said this, man. There's certain fighters. David Benavidez. Jerron Boots Ennis, Devin Haney, they've all been taller with the longer reach and having the youth over everybody they fought. So it's kind of hard to say Tank has never been in a 50-50 fight where he's always been in a disadvantage in somewhere as far as either height, reach. At one point experience when he went up against Pedraza when he was 19, but we discredit him even though he's worked himself up to be the cash cow, and he said that was his only goal, was actually to make money, to give back to the community, to be the Floyd that was to him that he can be to people that's coming up behind him, like Truck Simpson, like the other amateurs over there, in Baltimore, in that gym, coming out of that camp. We know at the end of the day, man, these boxers fight for revenue. Point blank, period. So it's just a lot of things I took away from watching this press conference. There was really no sizzle to it. I see no disrespect. And I'm just appalled that there's so much politeness and no disrespect for Lomachenko, because it's almost like they know better when it comes to that kind of stuff. They don't want the backlash from the fans, and it's like almost like an invisible belt where they get the shit slapped out of them with if they were to do that. I just want them to keep that same energy, man. Where's all that tough talk? Where's all that tough talk and disrespect for Lomachenko and his camp that you show everybody else, that you show Tio, that you show Keyshawn Davis, that you show Tank and his coach? Where is it? You not gonna keep that same energy? Anyways, I always like to put things out there, man. Things for you to talk about, you know, things that we need to discuss, you know, things that you need to consider when you're evaluating everything, man. I just thought I'd, you know, say my piece on it. You know, I hope the young man, you know, is victorious at the end of the day. I hope that he puts on, you know, a hell of a show in the clinic, and I hope that he stops Lomachenko. Whether I believe he can do it, he can. Will he? I'm not sure. But he needs to make a big, big statement. We really do need these pay-per-view buys for Devin Haney so that we can get the Tank fight. Because I'm about ready for Tank to knock Devin the fuck out. Anyways, that's it. That's all here at BodyWorkBoxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.